live at the Radisson Hotel in Green Bay. This is Locker Room with Local 5 Sports Director Bert Griffin.
The Packers had plenty of time to prepare for some Monday Night Madness. But if you bet on Black and the Raiders, you made money. And now the Green and Gold will have to move on from Sin City and use their bye week to get better before they face the Broncos. Time now for another edition of Locker Room. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Locker Room right here inside the Cedar and Sage Grill at the Radisson Hotel and Conference Center. Well, the Packers have some time off during the bye week after that tough loss on Monday Night Football in Las Vegas, and now they're going to have to go back to the drawing board before they head out to Denver to face the Broncos on the road in 2 weeks. Here to talk about that and all things green and gold, former special teams ace and Super Bowl champ with the Pack, Jarrett Bush. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Very well.
Well, how do you describe what you saw last night?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think A-Rod put it very well in his tweet the other night. Well, they got to get to work. They got to fix it. You know, I think they're not going to have any excuses to kind of when they turn on that film, and they are what they are. You know, one thing remains constant, though, Burke, is that they're a slow starter. Very slow starter. And even for myself, I really start to see them very predictable. And I think something that, as an opponent, they dissected, just like how we did when we played. We dissected everything that they did from top to bottom, categorized certain things, first down, second down, third down, red zones. And so one thing I know is third down, even this past game, the first 3 downs were all screens. As a defense, that means we're gonna lay back, we're gonna see that tailback leak out the back, and we're gonna hold on to them because that's what you've shown. And so as the game goes on, you got to evolve at some point into something else, a little bit more creative to throw the defense off.
Right. Well, and when you saw them hammer the football on the ground with A.J. Dillon the way they did, I thought for a second, all right, this is going to work tonight. But Aaron Jones really hurts them not being in the lineup. And I didn't – everyone knows how explosive and good he can be, but did you think he was that vital to the way this offense runs?
I did. Aaron Jones is the engine, along with A-Rod before Jordan Love came on the scene. Yep. And he's a touchdown machine. Yep. Aaron Jones is the guy. I understand A.J. Dillon, he's the quadzilla, I get it, but Aaron Jones is the engine to that. And you've seen it. Ever since Aaron Jones stepped out, we haven't been as productive.
Well, they get the field goal. Obviously, the Raiders go down and score, and then Love throws probably one of his worst passes of his NFL career into triple coverage. I don't know where he was going with that one. And the guys snuck out. That led to another field goal. It was 10-3 at the break. Yeah. So in the second half, they needed to set the tone in the third quarter, and they did just that.
Right.
Going downfield.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been their MO. After the second half, now they start to turn loose and start to let the reins off Jordan Love and kind of throw the whole kitchen sink at the defense. I would love for them to start at the beginning because it's a lot more fun when you're ahead. Yeah. You know, right? When you're winning, it's a lot more fun. It's tough to play from behind and try to catch up all the time.
And you can play differently, and you know that on defense. You can throw more blitzes in there. You can do different things. And after that huge catch by Christian Watson where he goes 77 yards and gets horse-collared, and they only get a field goal out of it, then that's where – I don't want to say the wind was out of their sails at that point, but then they're playing catch-up. Josh Jacobs scores at 17-13, and then the pick at the end maybe short-armed it just a little bit, but it was still only third down. They didn't have to go for it all there.
Right.
Maybe should have thrown it away and lived to fight another day.
Agreed. And what was disappointing was that before that, the 70-yard bomb, A.J. Dillon methodically – drives them down the field into the end zone, and then they have that bomb, and all of a sudden they get dudded right there at the goal line, which is disappointing because he's the guy that got you there. Yeah. And so I would like for that moment, you have so much momentum being away, being in the Oakland Coliseum.
Well, I don't know if it was away. There was a lot of Packer fans.
There was, but I was disappointing that you go 70-yard bomb and you can't punch in, which is supposed to be like your for sure tough yardage back.
All right. Well, the way the game went is kind of indicative of our U.S. Cellular call of the game. There wasn't a monster big call that we could go to, but it might not seem like much on the opening drive in that third quarter. The Packers did go for it on 4th and 2. A.J. Dillon delivered with a first down run. That kept the drive alive en route to their only TD of the game. A.J. Dillon, 20 carries for 76 yards, almost 4 yards per rush. That huge first down is our U.S. Cellular call of the game. Now, he'd been criticized a little bit, but the offensive line hadn't really done anything really special, so to speak.
Yeah.
But A.J. ground out some tough yards in a tough situation when the Raiders knew they had to run the football.
Agreed. And you got to give credit when credit's due. He is a quadzilla. He did pound out some hard yards. I would like to see the offensive line to stand up a little bit taller in those crunch moments, like, again, that 70-yard bomb. And again, have an answer for Max Crosby. I think that goes from top to bottom. You got to look at Matt LaFleur. You have a game plan. Yeah. Max Crosby ran havoc all over our offense. Jordan Love felt him all night. You got 5 guys, maybe 6 guys back there. You got to either max protect, somehow chip him with the tight end, something. You got to slow him down.
Well, you know what? You know one defensive lineman who used to wreck some game plans back in the day. He'll be joining us in just a couple of moments. Former Packer, former Bear, former Niner. I believe he also played with the Eagles as well.
Okay.
Notre Dame alum and the pride of Southern Door. Jim Flanigan is in the house, everybody. Welcome back to Locker Room right here inside the Radisson Hotel and Conference Center. He is Jared Bush. That guy sitting over there, I'm not even going to say former Chicago Bear. I'll say Southern Door native and local football legend, Jim Flanigan Jr., everybody. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Doing great. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. Well, first, let me ask you, we'll skip all the Packer football talk. We'll save that for later. What do you do on your bye week? Because I know you do a lot of stuff with this guy after school each Monday through Friday and maybe even on Saturday.
Yeah, I've been busy coaching the last few years. My older son's a junior at Notre Dame Academy, and I've got a freshman who plays guard and defensive tackle. So helping those guys get ready. We're going into our last game of the regular season, so we're excited. We're in a pretty good position and looking forward to the playoffs.
Very cool.
So how is that? So as a son, I don't have a son. So how is that with the whole concussion? Do you feel that that's okay as a father stepping into it, understanding that the technology has evolved over the years and innovation? Do you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it was a big decision, especially for my wife, right? Because she doesn't have as much experience with it.
Right.
But the way that they monitor the kids and do baseline testing nowadays, like everybody's much more attuned to what's going on, and as soon as there's any sign of even a mild concussion, they treat it very conservatively. So, fortunately, knock on wood, my boys haven't experienced that yet, but it is something that happens, in any contact sport, whether it's football or any other sport.
Soccer.
And so it's just something you have to deal with and be smart about. And I know the kids who've had concussions this year have all responded well and been treated conservatively and have come back in an appropriate time.
Well, we're in the same boat there too. I've got also a junior and an 8th grader, and the junior got his bell rung, as they say. Now it's different because back when we played, it was like, "You all right?
Yeah.
All right, get out there." There was no sit on the sideline for a half and then do the and then you have to go through protocol. Like you're done for the you're done for that game and it's over. But I do think we've seen some of the numbers drop. We've got some fellas over there in the corner from the St. Joe's West Side here in Green Bay who are enjoying the show from. Look at them, they're waving. There we go. Our camera guy finally got over there. Wave, fellas. But the numbers have dropped, and I think you guys have seen that too, overall, in terms of contact and youth football. Do you think it'll ever get back to the heyday of the 70s and 80s and maybe even the 90s?
In terms of
the numbers
contact?
Of kids, yes, the number of kids that are going out for football.
Oh, okay.
Because the physicality of the game may have pushed a few parents away.
I do think it's coming back. I mean, we've got really good numbers at Notre Dame Academy right now. The whole game has changed around the concussion protocol, right? And so we, as a defensive guy, like we've actually completely changed the way that we tackle now.
Yep.
And that's a good thing. And so I think it's reduced injuries for not only head trauma but other injuries as well. And I think the more parents get comfortable with that and see that getting a concussion is not the end of the world if you treat it appropriately. And kids can be back playing again in a couple weeks. So I do think the numbers will come back.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your career. 10 years in the NFL, the majority of them down in Chicago with the Bears. Yeah, I know, we get it.
Right.
But looking back, you were here one season, and for a kid who grew up in Wisconsin, what was that like?
Oh, it was, I mean, honestly, a dream come true, right? I mean, my dad played for the Packers in the late 60s. He was drafted by Vince Lombardi in 67, played in the second Super Bowl. I was born here in Green Bay, grew up in Door County, and yeah, really, you know, dreamt about playing for the Packers. And you know, I don't regret or have any bad memories of playing for the Bears, other than the fact that, you know, we weren't a very good team during that time period, right? And that was the toughest part about it. But in terms of like playing professional football in a big city like Chicago is a pretty good place to do it. And then when I had an opportunity to come here in 2001, you know, we had a great team. Brett was still the quarterback. A lot of the old guys from the '97 Super Bowl were still here. We were 12-4 that season. Had an absolute blast, and honestly, one of my better years in the league was that season here with the Packers. And so I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer and finished my career here, but that's not the way that it worked out, and I'm just glad I had an opportunity to play here for one season.
Very cool.
Yeah, and speaking of that one year, I remember seeing your name up there on the Pro Bowl, so congrats, man.
Thank you.
So just having a son again, I imagine just having a lineage in the bloodline. What's some advice that you give to your son, and maybe to absorb or maybe embrace some of that pressure from your granddad to you? And then how do you see that exit strategy in progressing? Because I feel like, again, a lot of players, they struggle in that transition. How would you articulate that to him?
Yeah, and so that's a big issue, right? I mean, it's something that I've been aware of, you know, since my boys were born, right? They're going to know that their grandfather and their dad played in the NFL. And so the way that I've handled it is pretty similar to the way that my dad handled it. It was a very low pressure situation. And you know James pretty well from track. You know, he's a guy, and same thing with my son Richie, they don't really need to be pushed. And so I really want them to find their own way and you know, enjoy football, but also play other sports, do a lot of different things. I think that's good advice for any young athlete. Play a number of different sports, number of different positions, figure out what you like best. And then once you get a little bit older, you know, maybe junior, senior year in high school, you can start focusing on what you like best. But it's really hard to say as a 6th or 7th or 8th grader, like what you want to be or what sport you want to play, you know. We've all seen guys who were basketball players in college end up playing professional football, or a couple other scenarios like that where, you know, maybe somebody doesn't even play football until their junior or senior year in high school, and all of a sudden they blossom in college and become a great player. So there's plenty of time for these guys to develop.
Well, speaking of college, we'll talk about this guy being on the cover of Sports Illustrated back in the day when that was the biggest thing on the planet and the coolest thing ever. Plus, we'll go inside our Easy Tab fan zone with the kids from the St. Joe's football program. We'll be back with more from Locker Room coming up after the break, everybody. Welcome back to Locker Room right here inside the Cedar and Sage Grill at the Radisson Hotel and Conference Center. He's Jared Bush. That is Jim Flanigan. Jim, what do you think about this current team, 2-3? They're young. They got a long ways to go. What is your opinion of what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've struggled the last couple of weeks. I think they're banged up, right, quite a bit. But they are a very young team, and I think that's what I'm most excited about, especially on defense. And you know, I pay attention to the D-line quite a bit, you know. So getting Rashawn Gary back is great. You know, Lucas Van Ness is going to be a good player. You know, Kenny Clark's one of the best tackles in the league. Like, they got a really good defense, and I just hope that you know, they can kind of get back on the right track here after the bye.
Well, speaking of defensive linemen, it is time to go in the zone with Cam Ezer.
Here with Packers defensive lineman Colby Wooden. Colby, rookie, your rookie season, first year, a lot of times people come in with expectations. What's one thing that you expected that or didn't expect that's maybe come to fruition?
You know, it's crazy. So they said I'd be playing a lot and I have no choice to play, but like now we in it and I'm playing a lot. It's like, damn, I'm playing a lot. Nah, but I'm just excited. Like I feel like I've been blessed and given the opportunity to be put in a position to contribute towards the team. I know I got to step up. The guys, the vets have already told us, the rookies, we're no longer rookies. We got 4 games under our belt. We're no longer rookies. So for us, we just got to continue to improve and continue to help this defense out and start to come to work every day.
You mentioned that this is a blessing. Playing in the SEC is a blessing. Getting an offer from a school like Clemson, the ACC, is a blessing. How was that whole college process like, and how do you think Auburn molded you into the player that you are?
Man, Auburn molded me in every way. Like, from my first 2 years of toughening me up to my last 2 years of having to deal with coaches changes and being able to be flexible with, you know, learning new schemes and learning new things. I feel like Auburn has just molded me because, like, it taught me how to be a man, like on and off the field, like how to treat people, how to talk to women, like how to talk to you. Like it just molded me and, you know, made me who I am today. And War Eagle, always and forever.
Where do you think that toughness stems from?
Just having to go to a board drill with, freshman year, I'm doing board drill with Derek. Everybody. My skinny self. I was forced to like contact, and from then on, I've just kind of been, all right, I know what to do now.
How do you feel like you fit into Green Bay, this fan base, this team?
Yeah, no, I love Green Bay. For me, people ask me all the time what Green Bay is like, and I'd be like, it's kind of like Auburn, like as in the sense of they love football. Like Auburn ain't nothing down there but football. So the whole community's behind you. They're going to support you. If we can help and contribute towards anybody in the community, you know, we're all for it.
All right, thanks, fellas. Speaking of college, is there anything cooler than, I don't know, going to Notre Dame in the early 90s and eventually being on the cover of Sports Illustrated? Jim, I mean, that thing's got to be framed in your house somewhere.
Yeah, I've got it down in the weight room. I mean, it's a really cool memento. You know, it was a great shot. It was a great game, and it was a great team to be a part of for 4 years.
Yeah. What do you miss most about college? I know Jared's talked a little bit about it, but look, playing in the NFL, getting paid is great.
Right.
College is awesome.
Yeah, there's just a different, you know, it's just a different like environment that you're in it all the time. You're around the students who all obviously know that you play, and so. Particularly at Notre Dame, it's a smaller school. You know, when I went there were only like 4,500 students in the university, and so it's really a lot smaller than most people think. And so you get to know a lot of the student body, and you know they're some of the best fans in the entire country and in college football. And one thing that people don't maybe realize is that game when I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated was against Florida State.
Yep.
That was the first time ever in the history of college football that ESPN Game Day was on campus. It was the initial college game day broadcast.
Well, maybe we'll see another Flanigan on a game day broadcast at Notre Dame. We'll talk about that in a little tiny bit. When we come back, Jim Flanigan on Locker Room, everybody. We'll have more coming up after the break. Welcome back to Locker Room. That is David and Cheryl Yancey from Hobart, enjoying our best seats in the house, courtesy of Viper Industrial. Time now to talk real quick about the bye week. Jimmy, what did you do when you were a player? Did you get away, go somewhere warm, or just go home and chill out for a while?
Yeah, I never really traveled during the bye week. I think we tried to use the time wisely to get healthy. I think the bye week for the Packers comes at a pretty good time after this kind of rough stretch, and they can certainly use the time to get healthy, so hopefully that's what they'll do. All
right, time now for our dispensary keys to the game during the bye week. There's no opponent, so get healthy, self-scout, go over the tape, and maybe make a roster move or two, right?
Yeah, and just reconnect with family and friends, you know, kind of get away a little bit, try to reinvent yourself maybe just a little bit and try to get healthy again until you're ready to go.
All right, he is Jim Flanigan Jr., former Packer, former Bear, but most importantly, a Wisconsin native. For Jared Bush, I'm Burke Griffin. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching Locker Room.